lights on a lot of the cars that you see in their videos. No, that one is only in Japanese, but I mean, you can watch it and get a lot of information out of it.
Right.
And it shed some more light. You know, when we were watching the episode, we basically said, you know, a lot of work goes into these cars. So if you go to this channel, you can see like how much work exactly goes into these cars, you know, with the idea that they're focused around dress up and drifting. So let me see if I can find real quick the actual name of it. It might be in Japanese.
Dude, this Car Prime channel is sick.
Yeah, that's definitely a hidden gem. I don't know why there aren't like way more followers on that.
I've seen this video too. He does a video comparing the new 8.6 with the pre-facelift 8.6, you know, and I've already watched this, but I didn't realize that this was like his channel. I just thought it was like a Japanese tuning channel, you know, because he guest stars on so many channels as it is, or like so many places. It's always like, especially over there, it's like he's everywhere. And so I just thought this was another one of those.
I'm sorry. I was looking at that Dodi Doda YouTube channel. They have a freaking spotlight on that crown that we've been shouting out.
Hey.
Like the black one. So the actual YouTube channel is Dodi Dode and Katakana, and then it's got some kanji here. I don't know what the fuck that means. And then it says YouTube. So I imagine if you put Dodi Dode just into YouTube in the katakana, it'll come up. And then the profile picture is just Dodi Dode, like the logo for their brand. And literally, it's like they show you how to do all kinds of crazy shit. There's like a spotlight of this guy building an S15, like a stanced out one. And YouTube actually now has built-in subtitles. They're not great, but like it can auto-generate English subs for you. So if you guys want to keep up with Japanese, you know, VIP drift culture, I wouldn't say VIP, stance drift culture, this is a great place to go.
Dude, related but unrelated. You reminded me because you said S15. Jess and I were talking about this literally yesterday about how upset I was. Like I got real nostalgic yesterday for no reason. Like nothing brought it on. Like it wasn't like, hey, Jarrod, do you remember that time in Japan? It was just like I got so nostalgic. We're in the car and I was driving like with the whole family.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got quiet. And then she's like, you know when your wife goes, hey, what's wrong? And I'm like, I'm just thinking about that SR20. Or like, you know, it was like that, dude. She looked at me a couple of times and she'd be like, what's wrong? What are you thinking about? And I'm like, that turbo SR20 we had in the S15.
You talk about that gray one you had?
Yeah.
That was it Jess's?
Yes. And I'm still pissed about it. And I didn't get pissed until yesterday because I never thought about how little we used that car and drove it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever talked about that on the show. I think I have.
I don't think so.
My wife had a turbo S15, and it was a manual, but it was a spec S that the previous owner put an S13 SR into. So it wasn't the ideal setup, right? And when we were over there, like I was big on buying parts cars for things because I knew we were planning on drifting, and I wanted to have spares of like everything, you know, arms, diffs, subframes. Like I wanted to future-proof our drifting as much as I could. So I bought a parts car for my Altezza that was the same exact thing. It was a 6-speed beams Altezza that I paid $100 for. And then there was a guy that got into an accident on base. He rolled over his S15, or his friend. Do you remember this? His friend rolled over his S15.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And we went out and looked at it because he posted it on the local page and was like, hey, I'm going to part this thing out or junk it or whatever. Like, let me know if you want parts off of it. And I was like, dude, I will buy this whole thing off of you like right now. And somebody else was looking at, I think Rory was looking at some parts on it. And I think he ended up taking a couple things. But I was like, yo, whatever he doesn't want, like, I'll give you, I think I paid like $900 for it. And that was like, you know,
$900. Did it still have the driveline and everything?
Yeah.
In it?
Yeah. So it had
God.
the S15 Turbo SR, the was it 5 or 6-speed trans? I think the 6 speeds came in.
I think they're 6 speeds. Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff was fucked, right? Like the arms were all fucked. The wheels were not good. Like they were all bent because the car was in a rollover. So the roof was caved in a little bit and the glass was all broken. But it had like a good dash. The carpet was okay. All the seats were okay. The trim was generally pretty good. So I bought it for the interior, which now is in my S14, and the engine. But I ended up selling the engine. And I told Jess, I was like, that was fucking stupid because the engine that we had in her S15 overheated all the time and didn't run good at all. And I was like, why the fuck didn't we just put that engine in the 15 and sell the junk 13 engine that we had? And we could have driven the S15 more because we didn't drive it because it just overheated. It didn't have an LSD in it. It didn't have coilovers. Like there was stuff that we had to buy for it and we just didn't. And I remember we ended up just selling it. And I was so pissed because I was like, that was like the coolest car that we had. And we didn't do anything with it. Like it just sat at our friend's house. We worked on it maybe three times, maybe, and sold it. I was like, we never drove that.
Yeah. I remember you were messing with it when I was over there that one time. And that's when I got those freaking bookshelf or those rear parcel shelf speakers out of that junked S15, that white one for the R32 that I had.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. But dude, if you do that to yourself, you're gonna end up bawling on the floor with all the missed opportunities that you had in Japan. I was
pissed because I think that could have been the coolest car that we had, and I told Jess like after sliding around my 240, which isn't even like fast, it's you know what I mean, like it has good suspension and brakes, but like it's not a fast car, but it's so easy to slide, and I'm like, why didn't we just sell the Altezza, put all the money into the S15 because we could have had a really well set up drift car.
Yeah, and so you could have. Yeah, hindsight is 2020, dude. There's so many missed opportunities, stuff I didn't do, places I didn't go in Japan, and I don't know. Not to get too sentimental, but that's kind of like one of the things I really like about this podcast. It kind of gives me like a set time to go down that nostalgia path and talk about it with someone that actually gives a shit. Because if I talk about it with Jumbin, she'll just look at me like, "Why is this grown man crying right now?" I was like, "You don't understand. We fucked up. I'll probably never get to go back."
You just want to get it. Well, you're gonna be close though.
Yeah.
You'll be really close. I'm pretty jealous, but we talked about it with Jarrod and Quan, but Darius and I are talking about going back to Japan next year, and so that'll be like a big content push for us, and also just a chance for us to go back and have fun. And so now, we're just gonna go into kind of like what our year in review, quote unquote, and then kind of what we're looking like for this podcast, big picture, and I think we talked about it a little bit in the last episode with Jarrod and Quan. But I think last year was really when Darius and I were like, yo, we should take this really serious and start doing this podcast more. And so what we're looking at big picture is like, how do you make a podcast sustainable? Like how do you make it to where like I could quit my job for this in 3 years and keep going with it? And so that's why we're going to start branching out and doing more things in terms of more photo and video content, more like quality merchandise that's not just a logo on a shirt. More episodes, more engagement in terms of Twitch streams and Facebook and stuff like that, being more active everywhere. And I was telling Darius a couple weeks ago, when I look at our Instagram history and I look at, what we did for the first like 3 or 4 episodes versus what we do now and how much we engage and how much stories have gone up. It's just cool to see what we've built in the past. Gosh, it's not even been a year. We've only really been doing this heavy since September. And so it's really cool to see kind of how everything's growing exponentially, how you guys are along for the ride and the audience keeps growing, which is exciting for us. And so 2022, it's like we take this, like, I think more seriously than most people would with 12 episodes under the belt,
Yeah.
Most people really focus, I think, on just pushing out quality episodes and getting interviews on the podcast and stuff like that. Which we're going to keep doing interview episodes, but it's not going to be the whole format. The format's going to stay Darius and I, and sprinkling in interviews and interesting people along the way with it. And then in terms of like goals, I mean, I'm not going to give too much away, but we have like a Word document that's full of just like, okay, we want to knock out this, and this, get this many viewers by 6 months from now. Like we really kind of run this as a business. A very low grossing business, but business nonetheless.
We cannot stress that enough. Extremely, very low grossing. So, hey, if you're into some stickers, you want some stickers, pop over to the store. We got more colors coming.
We do. Yeah, we got more colors. We got shirts a couple months out. We're looking at buying shirts and printing and embroidering and doing some like really cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, we say this every podcast, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. We're not going anywhere. I will say a big thing is, if you can like the podcast on whatever platform you're on, if that's Google or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever, in addition to subscribing to it, we also have a YouTube channel with all of these episodes that drop on it. So wherever you're listening, please, I mean, just hit a button, even if you turn notifications off, if you're like, man, fuck these guys, but that helps out hugely. And so just little things like that. And I keep forgetting to say that. And then I go back and listen. I'm like, wait a second, we forgot to talk about this.
Well, so just real quick, let me get into where I see how I saw kind of 2021, or like you're saying, since September, since we kind of spun back up and decided to take this a little bit more seriously. I mean, like you were saying, the growth has been really amazing. But my favorite thing, and it may not seem like this because Jarrod is way more active on the Instagram than I am, but the interactions with people is what makes it, what kind of drives me to keep going and want to be bigger and bigger. Right. I'm not super interested in, I want to make a living. And if we can turn this into something we could do to make a living, that's great. But I'm more interested in doing this as like a passion and like getting into the community. I want to use this as an avenue to, meet new people, learn new things, have new experiences. So that's kind of where I'm leaning with it. Right. And again, this is Jarrod's baby. This is his idea. So I'm just here to be as supportive as I can. But at the same time, I would regret if I didn't give 100% of my effort. So with 2021 almost behind us now, looking at like where I haven't been able to, or I haven't like given enough effort for, all the merch and stuff you guys see, that's pretty much all Jarrod, because, he's dealing with that stuff stateside. I couldn't do that stuff since I'm overseas. So 2022, we're going to look at, balancing the pie a little bit more, making sure we can bring you guys quality stuff spread evenly among both of us and any other friends that we have that are willing to help us. Like 2022, we really want to focus on bringing really good quality content, because I would hate to have like a podcast where we're just either saying the same old stuff or not bringing anything of note. Right. We want to constantly, I'm not going to say innovate, but bring you guys stuff that you want to hear. And another big thing we want to do is like increase the amount of output we have. So, I mean, if you look from September, we've been doing about a podcast a month, maybe sometimes 2 a month. And me and Jarrod have been thinking of ways to increase that, because I know you guys, and I'm an avid podcast listener, and podcasts that like happen on a current, like a schedule, that's where the sauce is at. So that's what we're looking for you guys, ways to bring you guys more content, better content. 2022 is going to be a good year.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah. And Japan content trip. It's going to be fucking sick. I will say you hit the nail on the head. And it's not even just about content, but about diversifying content. And without giving too much away, without boring you guys to death, thank you guys again for listening. This episode was once again officially brought to you by Lucky Labo. If you go to luckylabo.com, you can use promo code TEAMLABO for 15% off your order. But Darius, you got anything else before we check out?
Following up on everything we just said, thanks you guys for listening and, interacting. If you guys want a sticker to support the show, just remember that it's just to support the show. We're not lining our pockets. Head over to sincerelyjapan.us. I believe that's the right URL, right, Jarrod? Yeah. And get yourself a sticker, and Jarrod will get that out to you promptly
with a handwritten letter from us. So
we got more colors coming.
We got the deal.
Yeah, we got more colors in development coming, so we'll get you guys a little bit more variety to choose from. But thanks for the support, and we'll be here for 2022.
Have a safe, happy New Year, everybody. Take it easy.
Take it easy.